I'm not one of those people who, never having been a teacher, is nothing but full of recommendations as to different curricula that should be addressed in schools. Kids should do this and do this. I've got a lot of strong feelings about what kids should learn. Balancing a checkbook, even though they've never seen a checkbook and can't write, but the idea of fundamental, rudimentary, ABCDarian finances and the like. Things like that. Also, I would teach this thing called etiquette, how to eat at a table, how to hold a fork, things like that. But most importantly, what I would absolutely mandatorily guarantee, which is a bit redundant, is the notion of musical studies in school. And there's a reason for that. That makes a lot of sense to me, and it may be something you haven't thought of. And I want to address that in its totality. But first, a word from our sponsor. If you're like me and any rational person, and you love freedom, then it's time for you to wake up. With the state the world is in right now, the threat of an electromagnetic pulse has never been more real. An EMP would destroy all the electronics that we depend on in today's society. It will completely change our world as we know it, and only you can protect yourself and your loved ones. How? Well, I've recently partnered with a veteran-owned company out of the Midwest called EMP Shield. They've invented a device that can hook up to your vehicle or home that will protect against the threat of an EMP. This technology has undergone testing at Keystone Compliance, a military-certified facility, and is listed by the Department of Homeland Security. This company has devices that can protect not just your vehicle and home, but your generator, solar system, ham radio, RV, and much more. Take your family's safety and security into your own hands by going to the URL linked right here and go there now, today. It could be the difference between life and death. With EMP Shield, you'll not only protect yourself, but also this great nation. I can think of nothing that everybody agrees with. Nothing, except this. That in everyone's life, music has played a part. Maybe not a significant part, but everybody has a favorite song. Everybody has a song that reminds them of something. Everybody has a song that may take them back to a particular era, to a particular time, to a particular reference. And if you are lucky enough to have played an instrument, to learn, again, rudimentary, elementary rules as far as time, rhythm, a little bit about notes. If you can read music, if you can take this thing called nothing and punctuate it into regular divisions of time, regular sequencing, if you can do that and put together something where you can always have an instrument or I guess maybe or could be just singing, but something that you can go to, that you create out of nowhere, that takes you to a different place, that makes you think differently. Think of so many aspects of most religions. Two hands, two separate usual styles, two different behaviors, taking your brain. And for the most part, we act in unison. We do things pretty much in a coordinated effort. But with the guitar, with the piano, whatever it is, two, separately. Again, punctuating nothingness. Taking this vacuum of space and giving it this regular, again, syncopated, punctuated, rhythmic designation of time. Fragments, cells that work perfectly. When you can hear the rhythm, you feel it. Not just even tapping your feet, but you feel it. Have you ever seen somebody who has no sense of rhythm? Or who can't hold a tune? That's a different thing. Singing is a different mechanism. Everybody can sing, may not be well, but when people cannot keep a rhythm, and you can ask, well, where does rhythm come from? Is it the heartbeat? Is it, I don't know, you can put all these romantic things. All I know is most people can do it. Most people can't help it. Sometimes songs get into your soul and you don't even know what you're doing. You have to keep track. And if it's something that is consonant with your era, when you were a kid or young, I mean, let's face it, Begin to Begin may be tough for some people to jump into, but they might be able to hear something. For you to take this mathematics, the maths of music, and to reduce it into this beautiful structure changes your life. You know, cooking is chemistry and physics and art, and people don't really see it that way. Music is something that is forever makes you think better. Let me give you an example. You know, when you're out running, if you've ever been out trying to jog, and they always say stretch. Stretch before you run. Stretch your limbs. Stretch. You will put your legs and your body into contortions and into configurations that are no way replicated when you run. They don't. You'll bend your leg backward. When do you bend your leg backward? When do you do this during a... No, you don't. But in order to stretch this portion of your shoulder or your leg out, you do this. So sometimes a behavior that may not necessarily be used or that is used or utilized during a particular exercise or an endeavor can nonetheless facilitate and lubricate, so to speak, and enable you to do things better by loosening you up, by making you more pliable, and it might allow you to think of some concept differently because you spent time thinking musically, because you had to create a system of rhythm out of nothing. That ability later on can help you in making political decisions regarding financial matters or your family, being able to see ahead, being able to anticipate, being able to listen to what somebody else is doing and accompany them, teaching you how to listen and how to hear and how to coordinate that. It's something that is so fascinating. Every human being, they say, has in this person, in this homunculus, so to speak, this ability to speak. All humans speak. We have language. Animals don't. I'm sorry, I don't want to get into arguments. Dolphins, that's not necessarily a language. That's communication. But language and tense and syntax and verbs, no, it's a different story. But humans will automatically begin to speak. And humans will enjoy some kind of musical something. It soothes the savage breast. It can make you happy. Certain sounds can impart upon you different emotional feelings. I'm telling you things you already know. But what I'm saying is that this has to be taught in a school by the right person. And many of us, you might have this. I mean, I play the guitar, but I never really enjoyed guitar lessons. I never enjoyed this. And thanks to YouTube, people are able to learn at home, and it's wonderful. So if you don't do this in school, then, fine. But kids have to learn this. And it's best when structured by somebody who can teach it. Music will change your life. Music changes every culture has their own sound. And it's great when you hear something. And if you are a musician and you play music, for you to hear something and say, I never thought of that. Think about how we always think we come up with something new. How people think rap and hip hop is new. This goes back forever. The idea of syncopated vocals and vocalese and no, this goes back to Hank Snow was doing rap. Deborah Harry recently, Gil Scott-Heron. The idea of taking something and putting words almost, you know what rap is. And I'm sorry that I'm trying to define something you already know. All I know is simply this. I'm not giving up on school yet. I'm not giving up on education. I'm not throwing it away. Educational systems, maybe. Unions, maybe. That's a different story. But I am telling you, and I know this, like I know the fact that I'm here. Children, people, students, learn things that are so critically personal and necessary from the study of music. It must be, absolutely, it must be encouraged and mandatory whenever possible. Not mandatory to make people hate it, because a lot of people, like I said, had this, they used to have these militaristic piano teachers with the chignon and the sensible dress. You're playing Clair de Lune and all these terrible marchings. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about starting off with something that you know, a song you know, a song you like, a style, and finding out, wow. And when that thing clicks, when you're able to sit down, pick up an instrument, and play something that is recognizable to others, and even if what's better is if you're good at it, another source of acclaim that children need for validation and the like. But aside from that, it is something that is just immeasurable, inexplicable, immane, huge, colossal, and something that we must absolutely pursue. Now, if you like what I've said, please like it. If you don't like what I've said, please like it. I think you get the point of this. I think you've heard this valedictory a million times. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that little bell so you're notified of new. You've heard this a million times, but apparently it must be necessary because everybody and anybody says it. So there you go. Music, mandatory. Oh, and one more thing. I would be honored if you would comment as you see fit.